What is up, everyone, and welcome to Robeytech. I am Justin Robey, and today we are bringing back our new show because there's way more of you, and we hope that you'll watch it. No, we aren't building any PCs today, but what we are doing is talking about all things PC and gaming. So sit back, enjoy your Pacific Cooler Capri Sun, and get ready for some headlines. NZXT H1 case still catching on fire, new third-party RTX 3000 series cards, Google Stadia is shutting down internal game studios, new release date for Mass Effect Legendary Edition, all this and so much more on Robeytech. For those of you who may not know, a while ago, Gamers Nexus discovered that there was an issue, just a small, little, teensy-weensy baby problem, that the NZXT H1 could possibly catch fire. Well, the long and short, see what I did there, the short, of it all is that the PCIe riser cable used metal screws that had a higher probability than 0 to poke into a 12-volt plane on the PCB and cause the case to catch fire. There were limited amounts of people who this actually affected, which is a good thing. Now, NZXT has come out with a workaround involving plastic screw replacements for the PCI riser and sent out replacement screws to some people, but so many other people are waiting for them. And in fact, we actually did a whole video on how to replace them right here. But there were a few issues with this one, however. How do you get it to someone who maybe it was a gift for, or I don't know, maybe it was built by an award-winning PC building show and given away as a prize? Well, apparently that's actually not the most pressing issue. It seems that aside from not everyone having the plastic screws, it didn't necessarily fix the underlying cause of the problem and subsequent ball of flame. I don't know why I made that sound effect, but it sounded so cool. In the event someone ever had to use metal screws in the future, the fire hazard then would come back, and there was no way to prevent that, and because everybody didn't know, we still had the problem. So, NZXT has been working on new PCIe riser design for those cases and will be sending out to H1 case owners soon. And in fact, you can check down in the description below. We'll have a link to get that information and their official recall notice that's on their site. Thank you to everyone at Gamers Nexus who continue to hammer on the problem and make sure that it just wasn't being left at that. And thank you to NZXT for pushing to do better and be better and on a timeline that makes it better for the H1 and making it safer. In the meantime, NZXT has pulled the H1 from their store while they sort the issue out. Make no mistake though, NZXT makes really great products. They just fumbled on this one, and they're doing the right thing by letting people know and making sure that it gets recalled and actually fixed. Now, here's hoping they get fixed soon so we can get back to building some awesome PCs in their awesome H1 cases. I mean, Josiah, I really actually love their H1 case. It's dope. It's dope, yeah, it is. The next story is all about the new third-party RTX 3000 series that we would love to get our hands on. GALAX, a company known for making some of the only all-white GPUs, including the PCB, which is why don't more people do this, have done it again with the 3090 HOF, or Hall of Fame. The catch? I will never be able to have one since they aren't available in the US, unless you buy them on eBay for exorbitant prices along with all the other 3000 series cards that are currently out there. But I digress. Aside from looking absolutely stunning, GALAX GPUs are also known for packing some serious punch when it comes to overclocking. Pretty much all the variants feature a similar 3-slot triple fan design on top of their custom 12-layer white PCB or printed circuit board and plenty of RGB lighting, which you have to have. I mean, that's like what, 10, 15,000, 20,000% jump? 12,000!
12,000,
okay, over 9,000! Now there are 6 8mm pipes and dual aluminum fin stacks to dissipate heat from the central heat sink. I mean, this thing is gonna be like, not triple C thick, like quad C, like what's 5? What's 5? Like penta C? I don't know, I don't know what, I have no idea. Now let's talk power. Since this thing has 3 8-pin power connectors, which, yes, I know that's not new to 3000 series card. It's bound to be pretty beefy, isn't it? But we would still say, right? Well, beefy? It is indeed. It is indeed. The limited edition version of the Coast boasts a boost clock of 1875 megahertz, with one of their cards reaching 3015 megahertz. That's over 3000! And holding 16 world records for overclocking. I have 0 world records. Man, this is depressing. Now, the OC Lab hits ludicrously high speeds with its equally high TGP of 460 watts, not 260, I don't know what I was saying there, of 460 watts and can go all the way up to 500 watts, more than any other 3090 on the market. You just need like an old power station. You're like, burn. It's like that. It's like the National Lampoons where they have to like flip a switch every time you turn on your PC. And you might be thinking, wait, Robey, power's great and all, world records and that whole thing, but can I get it with an LCD screen? Because an all-white GPU with RGB just isn't quite extra enough for me. Man, I'm telling you, well, fret not, my extravagant friend with exceedingly good taste for the extreme, because the higher end cards come with a 4.3-inch TFT LCD panel that connects via USB. Mic drop. If I had a mic, I'd drop it right now, because come on, what else does this card need? I mean, it literally will cause world peace when this comes out. It's the greatest thing ever made. Now, the website says that you can use the screen to monitor temps, clock speeds, and vitals for your GPU, and more. And more. So that means everyone who gets one of these needs to try to load Robeytech GIFs on them, right?
They're GIFs.
No, they're GIFs, but they need to load them. Now, don't look at me. I don't make the rules. I play along with them, just like everyone, and that's just how it has to be. Robeytech GIFs, not GIFs. So how do we follow up that bonkers GPU? Well, with a new 3070 from Colorful that comes water-cooled with a built-in AIO, of course. While pre-built cards that come with AIO coolers isn't a new thing, that has always been done exclusively on the high-end cards, like the 2080, the 2080 Ti, and then more recently the 3080 and the 3090, all have high-end water-cooled variants. But this is not, this is for the normal person. Colorful is on a list of companies that have already water-cooled those top-tier cards, but they also saw a hole in the market, a big 3070 shaped hole in the market. I wonder what that looks like. I guess is it like a, okay, anyway. Colorful's Neptune lineup now adds a 3070 to its ranks, giving consumers a more budget-friendly water-cooled GPU option. Its two-slot design is running its cooling through a 240mm dual-fan radiator, so you'll need a bit of room if you are going to water-cool both your CPU and GPU. But how much power are we looking at with the water cooling option? Well, the 3070 Neptune has a base clock of 1500 megahertz. That's decent. And a boost clock of 1845 megahertz, which is bonkers, by the way. Now, how do you get that clock speed, you might ask? Oh man, wait for it. Wait for it. Well, with a button. That's right. On the I/O bracket of the 3070 Neptune is a little baby button that, when pressed, takes the boost clock from a modest 1725 megahertz and turbo boosts it up to 1845 megahertz. Sure, you could have set it up that way in software or in some third-party program that manages GPU RGB, but there's just something super special about a button that makes things go faster. It's like NOS for a PC, and I love it. No word yet on pricing or release date, but I want one, and I want one right now. I love space. I love games. I love it when you put these things together and you have space games. So you'll understand our excitement here at Robeytech when we tell you that EA and BioWare finally gave us the release date for Mass Effect Legendary Edition. It's gonna be May. That's right, it's gonna be May 14th specifically, for the Legendary Edition to release on Xbox One, Xbox Series S, and X, PlayStation 4, and 5, and PC. Woohoo! That's right, day one PC release, baby. Wah, I'm using you. I'm gonna use you. Oh, you're gonna be magical. That's right, my Mass Effect PC, it's getting used for this game because I love it. So what makes this so legend? Wait for it. Dairy? Well, it's been optimized and remastered in 4K with HDR, improved textures, shading, lighting, and includes 40 DLC stories, weapon, armor, and more between all three titles. That's right, Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2, and Mass Effect 4. Just kidding, it's Mass Effect 3. We don't consider Andromeda, just forget about Andromeda. Now, the OG has seen the most improvements and updates to the UI, combat, exploration, and to be honest, that's a very welcome update. But one of the biggest improvements they've made to the series is a unified character customization. That's right, since they're overhauling the graphics for all three titles, it made sense to give us a Shepard that looks the same across all three games. Yeah, yay! Yeah, you can celebrate, stand up right now, cheer. I don't see you cheering, you better cheer. That's right, yay! You, white shirt, yay! Now, aside from looking the same in each title, we'll also get more options in skin tones, hair, makeup, so you can be the best Shepard on the Citadel, and you bet I will. Now, we got a fancy new trailer that looks freaking sick, and also a really dope looking legendary cache that comes with an N7 acceptance letter, which, I mean, I've been accepted to for a long time, but I'll take a second one. 2 canvas art prints, a Paragon/Renegade spinning pin, key art metal case, and a 1-to-1 scale replica of Shepard's helmet. Man, That sounds magical. Though, Normandy, where's the Normandy? Everybody loves the Normandy. I want the Normandy. Now, it cost $149.99, but it doesn't actually come with the game, I guess. I guess it's cool that means you get the collectibles separate from whatever platform you play it on, so I guess it's kind of cool. But Josh, who wrote this script, definitely bought this morning with pre-orders went out and feels really good about his life decisions. And Robey, who's learning about this right now when reading the script, is also going to pre-order this as soon as he gets home and feeling pretty good about his life decisions right now. So, plus, it lights up and stuff, so why wouldn't you buy it? You should go buy it right now. Link down in the description below. Google recently announced that they would be shutting down their first-party game. Google recently announced that they would be shutting down their first-party game development for students. Google recently announced that they would be shutting down their first-party game development for students. Google recently announced that they would be shutting down their first-party game development for Stadia. While, let's be real, we all kind of saw this coming. It's interesting that Google's press release says that they decided to close down internal game development and focus instead on the future of Stadia as a platform. Yeah, like just standing on it, because that's really all it's good for. Oh, not that kind of platform, I'm sorry. It's just kind of weird, but not unexpected turn in decision for them to make. On the one hand, one of the biggest selling points of most consoles is their first-party title. Xbox has Gears, Halo, Forza, Sea of Thieves. Sony has God of War, Gran Turismo, Spider-Man. Nintendo has Smash, Mario, Animal Crossing. Well, obviously there are more than just those, of course, but exclusives have been viewed for the longest time as a major selling point for a console. So what caused the shift? Ecosystems, apparently. It seems that Stadia has focused exclusively on gaming in the cloud. They're relying on their ecosystem and tech to be the major selling point for the device. Now, we don't have a lot of information on what this means for all the people who worked on the game dev teams at Google, aside from some of them migrating to other roles, but not everyone will find a place. The biggest thing to come out of a major shutdown like this is that people are losing their jobs, and we're sorry. Game studios around the world are opening up to help these displaced devs, posting their job listings on social media and letting everybody know that they're hiring, which is something I super love about the game community. Stadia and Stadia Pro is going to be continuing to grow its partnerships with third-party developers like Ubisoft and 2K. But the big question that everyone is asking themselves is, why Stadia without first-party titles? I don't know. Well, that's all the news we have for this week on Robeytech. Let us know all your thoughts about our stories today in the comments below. Now, while you're down there, be sure you slap that subscribe button, whip that like button, and ring that notification bell so you know when we post a brand new video right here on the channel. Also, be sure to check out our live streams here on YouTube and over on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, starting at 5:30 p.m. And check us out on all the socials on Robeytech. And I believe our TikTok game is Lit Fam. Lit Fam, right? I don't even know what that means. Anyway, that's all for us here at Robeytech. Now, go build a PC or play some games. I know we're going to.